How's it going, everybody? This is Aaron the Pedantic, and we are looking at the Kickstarter for Dungeon Denizens, which is the Goodman Games Kickstarter where they're just doing a whole bunch of new monsters. This has had me excited for a while. I've just been really busy. I haven't had really a chance to go over this for people, make sure that they know that it's happening, and make sure they understand what it's about. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because I don't know how much time I have, and so the recording may end abruptly. And that's just because my time ran out. I'm in the middle of moving. So actually this backdrop is going to change pretty soon. You don't care about that. That's not what we're here for. But anyway, we're looking at the Kickstarter page. So as you can see, people are backing it quite a bit. So 3,673 backers and $310,601 total. Over a goal of 20,000. So they're exceeding, which I'm sure that's a surprise to nobody. Goodman Games is one of the really successful kind of like old school area inhabiting companies, very reputable as far as putting out quality product for a long period of time and just being really good to their customers and just having all kinds of really cool stuff overall. One of the things I've really enjoyed about DCC, among just the game itself and all that, would be the fact that they have the road crew program, which is very cool. If you don't know about it, now I haven't looked in it in the last few years. I'm not really sure what they do now, but what they did in the past was that you would essentially provide some kind of proof that you're running a public game, whether it's online or in person, maybe a picture or something like that in order to back it up. And in doing so, if you do it a certain number of times, the more you do it, the better rewards they send you in the mail. And they would actually, at the end of the year, they would do a kind of a send out things that just say, hey, here's like some of our favorite judges on the road crew, and really the people that were most active, and just stuff like that. It's cool. I got a thing for my license plate that way. I got some posters. Like, in fact, some of these posters are from that program, so it was really cool. They do a lot of cool stuff like that to try and promote the game. It's neat. And not even just the game, just Goodman Games overall. Anyway, I know I'm sounding like a company man at this point. I just do like the way that they run their company. But what is this? So Dungeon Denizens is a book that is going to have at least 500 new monsters. And they are doing this in your choice of either 5th edition or Dungeon Crawl Classics. So we have, oh, wait a minute. I didn't even notice this part. Plus an encounter book. Wait. Okay. If it's the 2-page Dungeon Delves, I opted out of that. Okay. So I may have gotten my hopes up there for a second there. I I didn't notice that the first few times that I looked at it. But so we have limited edition versions you can get. Of course, they're going to cost a little bit extra, and then we have the typical hardbacks for the corresponding editions, which I do like. I do appreciate the fact that, like, the DCC RPG one is the one that when I look at that, I'm like, yeah, that's the one that I want. Like, as far as the cover they chose and everything, the aesthetic seems to be appropriate for the system and the audience that they're going for, which, I mean, they're a company, so of course they're going to do that. They're going to know that the people that want 5th edition stuff, they're typically going to want the more polished fantasy art looking thing. Whereas with the Dungeon Crawl Classics, we like a little bit of style. We like a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of edge. And this is a lot more up my alley. So I'm glad that they went with this cover for the one that I'm getting, which so you may see up there that it doesn't say that I'm backing it. It's because I'm not logged in. So what else do we have here? So we have some add-ons where you can get some 2-page dungeon delves to add multi-system mini dungeons featuring monsters from Dungeon Denizens. Now, this is one of the things that I really wish that they would do. So in Dungeon Crawl Classics, as far as I know, well, at least in the core rulebook, there's no such thing as like an encounter table by terrain or dungeon level or hit die or anything like that. I really, really would like to see some of that kind of support. It may exist maybe in the annual, because I actually haven't read the annual thoroughly. It may exist in any other products that they may have created. Usually, whenever you pick up their modules will have um, specific encounters laid out. But whenever it comes to me running a game of DCC, a lot of times what I end up needing to do if we're doing any kind of overland travel and I'm wanting to consider encounters as being part of it, what I have to do is I have to use AD&D for my encounter tables, and then either use a stat block that is corresponding to DCC if it exists, which it may not, because DCC's core rulebook only has about 70 monsters. That's not including the subcategories, like different kinds of dragons and stuff like that. What it tends to do that's really cool with monsters is it tends to innovate by having variable outcomes of the same monster. So like it may have a special quirk or something like that about it. And the way that they do their dragons is really, really cool. But at the same time, you don't really have that resource of having an encounter table that you can use just whole cloth for your campaign play. So I would like to see if anybody knows of an encounter table that exists for DCC, especially if it's official. If it's unofficial, I'll take it. But if one exists, I would like to see it. If it doesn't exist, I would love to see them put it in, especially considering now they're throwing in 500 monsters, and these monsters are going to be broken up, as you can see. Scrolling. Oh, how long do I have to scroll? How long? Almost there. There it is. We have reference tables that break it down by different categories. So you see aquatic, Arctic, coastal. So we already have that kind of in mind, where we can, if we're in that area, we can, decide, well, I'll just pick a monster from here, I guess, because we roll up an encounter. But I don't like that. Me personally, I don't like that. I like to have it broken up by rarity. So something that's very common, I'm a lot more likely to roll that up. And then if it's something that's very rare, then I'm a lot less likely to roll that up. Instead, with something like this, I have to know off the top of my head, just kind of how common it is. I mean, ultimately, it still is going to be something that I'm going to do in prep before the game, so it shouldn't matter that much. But it does. It just does. What I tend to do with my encounters on Overland is I tend to create a list of all the likely encounter areas by terrain that we are going to encounter. Sorry. And I roll it, and I'll roll out, okay, it's going to be this many of this. Here's the stat block. I might even do the encounter distance. I might, that way I've got to do as few things as possible whenever we're actually sitting at the table. I'll have treasure, everything prepared. I still generated it in a way that is random, but I did it all beforehand. So that way, when we're in the session, I'm not doing a whole bunch of rolling and referencing and all that kind of stuff. I would love to see something that will make it where I can at least roll with these new monsters and the old ones. Now, I know that that's probably not the most likely scenario, because it looks like what they're doing here is the 5th edition version and the DCC version will be pretty much the same, except for the stat blocks. That is the most obvious way to do this. So I understand that's probably what we're getting. If they could create something like that and maybe sell it for $10, just random encounter charts, $10, I would pay for it. I think there are a lot of people that would. Maybe they already have it. If they have it, please tell me where to find it. I will purchase it. I want that tool. Okay. But let me scroll back up so you can see exactly what we've got here. All right. There's a lot. They're doing quite a bit here. Okay, so you have the books, you have the dungeon delves, you have the judges' screens. So it does have special tables related to Dungeon Denizens. Mystery. Is that going to mean that it's going to have the thing that I'm just asking about? I really hope so, but I'll tell you what. As it stands, I'm not backing the judges' screen. I may upgrade just to see what I get. I may upgrade just to see what that is. Maybe that's what they did there. They're like, oh, you can't see exactly what's on it. So, you know, you don't want to miss it, do you? That it also says to be determined, so you know we can't tell anyway. All right, so we have a bunch of cardstock pawns. So you can get these so that I guess you can just pull them out of a deck. Which, you know, that's neat and everything. My entire problem with deck-based stuff is that unless you have duplicates for things that are less common or more common, then it's not random. I mean, it's not proportional. And I do think that proportion, because I'm a bit of a simulationist, is a good thing. But you know, I do realize that a lot of people don't run their games that way. So it's just something for me. All right, we got t-shirts, we got dice. We have VTT tokens for all of the monsters. So those of you that are running virtual games, there you go. You can pay $40 and get those. We have dust jackets. I do not like dust jackets. To me, they just get in the way. I'm trying to read the book. I don't want to mess with flibbity flabbity. So, yeah, I don't. I'm not a fan, but it looks like for $5 more, you can get a dust jacket. Okay. So you can get just the digital PDFs for $30. You can get hardcover for either for $50. So $50 for the DCC one. It comes with the PDF, or $59. It says save $10. So I guess they're going to be $50 either way currently. I'm not really sure what the save $10 is about. I guess normally they're going to charge $69, or yeah, I'm going to say normally they're going to charge $69. I'm going to double check real quick. $30 or more for the PDFs, $49, $59. Okay, yeah, it is $59. So I guess they're going to normally charge $69 for the hardcover after the Kickstarter. And same thing here with the DCC version. It looks like they're going to charge $59. So save some money there. Get it now is the thing we're looking at. Okay, so the limited editions are going to be, it looks like, $15 more. Yeah, they're going to be $15 more. So if it is worth it to you to have a nice leathery reptile skin limited edition cover, then there you go. For me, I like the aesthetic is going to win out there. I know that it's nice feeling to have those those leathery things. I love my Dark of Hot Springs Island one, for instance. Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice to hold. But at the same time, I don't know, this just looks good. For some reason, that wins for me. The art is just it's evocative. Okay, if you want to get hardcover plus all printed add-ons plus PDF for them, you're going to be looking at least $179. If you want to get the limited edition, you're going to be going $10 higher. And everything for 5e or DCC, not both, then those are going to be $270. For some reason, the DCC one gets more expensive. That's interesting. That's $279. So there's everything, $500. Good Lord. Lot of things here. Okay. So 500 monsters. They have aberrations, constructs, humanoids, monstrosities, fiends, beasts, plant-like creatures, every challenge rating for every character level, with brand new full color art, fully developed game statistics, ecology, evocative lore description, and tactics. So, I mean, this sounds like it's going to be not unlike the Monstrous Manual for 2nd edition, which I love dearly. But yet again, that's another thing where with the Monstrous Manual, I really wanted to have a resource that has everything broken down into an encounter chart by terrain or dungeon level. That would be nice. I'm sure somebody's made it, but I don't know where it is. Variant leaders and spellcasters ready to challenge your players with cunning tactics or thoughtful interactions. Again, we have reference tables so that you can look by region and then find what monsters are going to be in that region, and then you can turn to that page. So and they have it by type, terrain, challenge rating, and more. So I'm glad that they're doing that. That makes it a lot more gameable. So that is greatly appreciated. If they didn't do that, it would be a lot less nice. So I do really appreciate that. Backers are able to design some monsters. It looks like pledge at least $30 and you're eligible to submit one monster. And the more they get in their pledges, the more that they're going to reserve for those submissions. Of course, not all of them are going to be picked, but then the stretch goals actually unlock even more monsters. So it looks like we're pretty close to getting the air dancer. I say pretty close, but we got a decent bit to get there. And it goes quite a bit. We only have 7 days left. I don't think they're going to get more than 400,000. I think 400,000 is probably going to be where it lands. I hope so, because I like cockatrices. I know somebody's going to clip that at the wrong spot. So it looks like they are doing, or they were doing, I don't know if they're still doing them now. Yeah, it looks like they're still doing them. They're still doing some Twitch streams to get people all pumped up. What else? Was there an upcoming one? No. So shipping costs are not applied. So you will end up having to pay shipping. BackerKit is going to handle it. I've had good luck with BackerKit, even though one of the biggest problems I have is remembering to go there and be sure I'm checking my emails, because there will be eventually an email that says, hey, you need to go in here and verify your shipping information and maybe pay some money. So keep an eye on your emails. That's the reason why my Tome of Adventure design just got in, even though a lot of people got there several months sooner. So that is what we're looking at with the Kickstarter. I am really excited about it. I'm backing it. I'm definitely backing it. It's I'm looking forward to it coming in. I'm running a DCC game right now. It is already quite a bit of fun. Some people may have seen the play back of it. I'm going to spend the rest of the time just opining about that. So if you got what you wanted, and if you were just here about the Kickstarter, then you can move on. That's fine. I'm just kind of doubling up for the time while I have it. So as far as the DCC game goes, what I would like to hear from anybody who is familiar with a lot of the modules, because I'm familiar with some of the modules, but not nearly all of them. There are a ton of DCC adventures out there. What I'm really looking for is I'm looking for the modules that are DCC modules that are not linear in their map design, if at all possible. If anybody could be like, oh, here's one, just, put them in the comments, because these, a lot of the map design for Dungeon Crawl Classics modules tends to be kind of one of two things. There tends to be kind of a wide open area, usually kind of like an outside area, where you can go to a few different places. Sometimes they will have some interior things that can be a little extensive. So an example of this would be Moon Slaves of the Cannibal Kingdom, which I actually really, really love that module. That is not exactly the norm, but it does happen. I have seen a few of those now. And then the other side of it tends to be where you have a dungeon environment, but maybe the way that it goes is you go from here to here to here to here, and then here, and there may be like a secret passage that gets to the next area, maybe, but you're probably just going along a line. And it's a fancy line. It's a pretty line. Doug Kovacs made the line really pretty because that's what he does. He is very, very talented at making maps look damn good. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you're going down a line. And to me, that is stifling as a player to have really no choice but forward or backward. That is terrible. That's terrible to me. I like to have the chance to explore more than just the room that I'm destined to go down. I like to get the feeling that things could have been differently it could have gone significantly differently if we would have taken it. And if we have more places to go, then it makes sense for me to introduce more encounter tables. But if we have just a straight line, then the encounter is just going to come from in front of me or behind me. So did they come in after me, or did they hear me from that way or they're just coming this way. I mean, but whenever we've got a more expansive environment where there's a lot of different ways you can go, then you've got something where, the environment can feel just a lot more interesting. It's just more interesting. Really, what we're doing to make the environment interesting in these very linear dungeons is kind of set dressing, sounding really cool, having cool monsters and cool set piece encounters. But that's just not me at the end of the day. I like those things. I think that they're useful, but I also think that it's a lot more useful for to give the players a chance to explore in a more meaningful way, not just, well, I want to check this part of the room or this part of the room or this part of the room. No, I mean, let them go down all kinds of paths. Let them see all these heads on spikes outside a corridor, in a corridor. And, do they decide they want to go in that room where that's going on? Because maybe not. That's the kind of thing that I want to see. And we're not really getting that with a lot of modules. So if modules that are DCC that have more expansive environments, hit me up. I'm already looking at Prince of Nothing's module that he did for Dungeon Crawl Classics, because I know that one is going to be more of an expansive dungeon environment, and I'm definitely going to throw it in the campaign. But I'm looking for more of them. So that is, I guess, my first topic at hand. My other thing is, I guess, just how did the funnel go? So we did Sailors on the Starless Sea, and it is posted. It is 4 hours with a 10-minute little break. So I'll just I'm just gonna opine about that for a minute because I just have a little bit of time. So how did it go? Well, first off, for people that may need a little bit of context, I did put this in the description of the video, but it's been a good while since I ran DCC, and it's been a decent while since I ran anything at all. I want to say the last time I ran DCC was maybe a year ago, something like maybe about a year ago. I want to say maybe a little bit longer, actually. And then when it comes to running anything at all, probably at least 6 months. It's been a while. I want to say probably at least 6 months. Whew. Maybe longer than that. It has been quite a while. That's all I can say. It has been quite a while. So, and on top of that, the people that we were playing with, the players, these are not people that I've played with, really. I've played with OGGM quite extensively. I've run games for him, and I've been on, actually, I've run games for him. I don't know that I have been a player in a game with him once. I want to say that we played Dungeon World together for a couple sessions. But other than that, there's of course Lilith. Lilith is a person who plays in real life games. She's a very, very significant person in my life, and so we know each other. But when it comes to everybody else, I don't really know them. Didn't know them. They don't really know each other. Like, none of them really know each other to my knowledge. So, this is one of those things where you're not going into this with a crew of people that know how to work with each other yet. And I don't know how to work with them exactly either. A lot of them don't know my style. Only 2 of them do. So there is that. And there's the fact that a lot of them have never done a funnel before. A funnel is not something that you run in the exact same way that you run a normal adventure. I spent maybe 10, 15 minutes before we actually started the game being like, okay, here are the expectations of the funnel. You only control one of your PCs at a time, typically. So you choose which one is going to be your frontline fighter. That person is going to be the one that's going to take the brunt of the impact and all that stuff. The only times that you'll use all of your characters in concert would be whenever there's just a massive open field brawl, which is almost never going to happen. So we don't even have to really worry about it. This is something that I learned in my public game days. It just makes it a lot smoother. It means a lot more character deaths. I will be perfectly honest with you, but it makes it a lot smoother because then you're not always being like, well, can we fit 28 people in this combat on our side with, the 6 or 7 baddies on their side? It gets a little bit silly whenever that happens, especially whenever you roll low for the initiative for the bad guys. And it's just like, okay, y'all kill them. Let's move on, but So it changes. It drastically changes the way that everything goes whenever you make that kind of decision. And also told them when it comes to your characters, they have occupations, of course. And if one of your characters that's not your frontline character right now has an occupation that is relevant to a task at hand, you can bring them out and have them take care of whatever it is, and then they go back into the formation, unless you want to bring them out permanently. But other than that, we're not going to be like switching in and out. We're not going to be spending a lot of time getting to know your characters or anything like that, because 99% of them are going to die. And yes, that turned out to be the case. For anybody who ended up watching, we had 18 PC deaths. 18 out of, I guess that would be, it was 6 players. They each get 4. So 18 out of 24. We had a lot of really interesting things happen, though. Now, part of this is because of the fact that I have developed some what I would consider potentially not good habits for the way I handle luck checks as one of the things. But at the same time, we had such a good time. I mean, I don't know that I'm really going to knock it. So in DCC, luck checks are a thing where it's usually if something bad is going to happen to somebody in the party that or could happen, then you have them roll a luck check. And anybody who fails, then you're going to be looking at them as having something really bad happen to them. That way, you want the players to be all like, I really, really want to spend some luck in order to make this one roll happen. But then I might have to deal with the consequences where now it's even harder for me to pass my luck checks. So I might have more and more misfortune fall upon me. This is something that I have seen GMs use as a way to determine who gets hit whenever formation is not something that they're handling. When the first DCC game I ever played in, formation, I don't remember that being anything that we actually talked about or anything like that. It was a lot more loosey-goosey. And so what it tended to be is whoever failed their luck check the worst is the one that's targeted. Or it was completely random who's targeted, which it works. It works that way, especially if you're doing theater of the mind. But whenever people want to be able to strategize using formation, this is an alternative, to use luck, to use random, because now we have die rolls anywhere from D3 to D8, and then we skip one, and so it's since we have the D3, D5, D7, it means we have a lot more propensity to come up with an exact random number. I say that like it's, like you can't do it without the DCC dice, but I mean, you can always just, if you're looking for a D7, roll a D8 and re-roll on 8s, it's not that bad. But anyway, that's the normal use is something like that. But the way that I kind of learned to use it, I don't know if this is the fault of the judge who taught me, or if this was just something that I picked up, is to just like roll a luck check whenever somebody is curious about something and I'm not sure what the answer is. It could be, maybe, or it could not be. So because of that, roll a luck check. That's kind of what I did. What I would normally do in like old school essentials or, BX, even AD&D, I'll do this, is I'll pull out ye old D6 and I'll say, okay, they asked me a question like, is there a chandelier in this room? And I'll be like, okay, well, this is kind of an active room. I mean, they did a lot of living in, something like that. So I'd say, but it's also kind of dilapidated. It's kind of old. So if there is a chandelier, it's probably not in the best shape. So I'm going to say maybe a 2 in 6 chance. So, I'd roll it, I rolled a 5. So 2 in 6 to me means on a 1 or a 2, it is true. On a, everything else, it's not true. So in this case, it was not true. No chandelier. Maybe it's on the ground. It's already crashed. It's no good to you. Sorry. That's the kind of thing I would do. But with the luck system, what I tend to do is I tend to be all like roll a luck check, which, can be dangerous because that can encourage players to want to ask all kinds of questions that may be a little bit outlandish. And if I'm not using this whole how plausible is it thing as a determiner, then maybe that could be an issue. So what ended up happening, I guess the way that the luck check ended up being pretty significant was that they at one point, so there are beastmen. So spoilers for Sailors on the Starless Sea. If you are wanting to play this in the future and you haven't yet, stop now because I'm going to say things. All right. So there are beastmen in the in the keep. Okay, they're beastmen, and part of the module is that these beastmen are people that are kidnapped and taken up there to this keep. And something we don't really exactly. It's not really clear what exactly the process is. The thing that teaches us that there is some kind of transformation process is the part whenever you read in the Tower of the Beast, I think is what it's called, the Tower of the Beast. It's Area H, and it talks about how they're like the people there are like slowly changing. So to me, that's like, okay, there's some kind of miasma, some kind of funk, some kind of ritualistic stuff that's happening here that is turning the people that are captured into beastmen. So I went with that. I like that. I was like, okay, well, let's take that to its logical conclusion. Uh, and I didn't even have to do that. The players themselves, they're like, whoa, there are people here that have been kidnapped, right? So like, do any of them look like my brother? So whenever that happened, I had like the module has laid out, you belong to this village. People from this village are being taken. And also the people are turning into these creatures, right? That's so logical gap. Yes, that is something that is possible. How possible is it? Well, you have to think about how many beast men are there. There's about 22 down at the very end. There's a few scatterings of like 2 or 3 or 4, something like that. So honestly, I could probably roll a D30 if I was trying to do complete plausibility. I could roll a D30. And I don't even know that I could do that, because then there are some villagers that are more freshly taken. And with them, that would add to the number. So it may end up being more like D40 or D50 or something. So in that case, I might have to just like roll a percentile and be like, if it's under a 3 or under, or a 2 or under, something like that. If I was trying to do it by pure percentages, that's what I would do. But instead, it was interesting. And I had the luck die right there as something that can be rolled. So I said, roll a luck check. So he rolls a luck check, and it's positive. So they're having this incredibly difficult time opening the door to this place, which is really ridiculous. I mean, I guess if this is one place that I could potentially knock the module a little bit, maybe just a tiny bit, that would be that a lot of the checks there. Oh, I have to go. I'll see y'all later.